Jenny, I've worn this polo twice. This is the most I've worn this polo since the quarantine.
I find that when you're on screen, you don't really see below your neck. I mean, not for me anyway, so like polos doesn't really work that well. Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in a minute. We're just going to wait for everyone to join in. Okay, so we'll get started. Thank you for joining us today and spending the hour with us. My name is Jenny Miranda. I'm the Director of Operations for the IDEA Engineering Student Center. And just before we get started with our presentation, I just want to let you know that we are recording this session so we can share it with students who are not able to join us today for their reference so they can view it later. And also we have disabled the chat, but if you have questions for the panel, for us, please drop them in the Q&A throughout the session and we will answer them live after the overview during the panel session. And we do have prizes for students who are attending our session. So what we're gonna do is at the end of the session, we're gonna go through the list and do some kind of a random pick of a few students who will get a gift card, and then we'll contact you via email to get that to you. But make sure that you stay for the duration of the session so that you can be eligible. I don't know if some of you joined us yesterday. If you attend all three, there are special prizes that we have available for those who are able to attend all three sessions, because we do have a different topic for each day. So it will be great if you're able to join us again tomorrow, if you're available at this time. So I want us to go through a little bit about the IDEA Center, what we are about, what we have to offer to all of you, the programs and services and events that we hold throughout the year, throughout the time that you're here with us in college. And then we'll spend the bulk of the time pretty much with the student panel that we have today. There will be question and answer. And as I mentioned, we will try to go through most of the questions that you pose through Q&A live. And the topic for today is finding community at the Jacobs School of Engineering. So IDEA stands for Inclusion, Diversity, Excellence, and Achievement. There's a lot of acronym at UCSD. UCSD itself is an acronym. These are the tenets by which we make sure that all of the things that we do are actually grounded on being inclusive of all different identities, different backgrounds, making sure that we have diversity across the school among our student population, and of course, making sure that we have everything in place to do well and to excel and to graduate with your engineering degree. So the way we do that is through a couple of things. We are very much committed to your academic success. So providing a lot of opportunities for you to actually make sure that you have the support that you need to do well, but also that you're able to acquire the skills and behaviors that will actually help you get through your college degree and prepare you for your professional career. So a couple of things that I want to highlight as it relates to that. We do have a couple of courses that we offer. We hope that you are able to find time to fit them into your schedule. If not this fall, we offer them in winter and spring as well. Eng 10 is a 2-unit class. It is a hands-on class. And the focus here is how do you use math in engineering, right? So with COVID, we are able to actually continue to offer this class online, virtually. So the kit is sent to you so you can continue to work on the project. Of course, the instruction is going to be virtual as well. But if there's an opportunity for you to use the Maker Studio, as the changes with the COVID permits, that might be an opportunity for you to do it later in the quarter as well. We have another course called ENCH 15. I mentioned before that a lot of the skills and behaviors that you acquire during college is not just for you to do well in college, it's for you to prepare for your career, whether it's in the industry, whether it's in the academia, whatever that might be, whatever your path might be. Career-wise, we want to make sure that you're thinking about what are the skills that you need to do well, and to actually make sure that you have all of the preparations that you need to actually be a good engineer. So ENCH 15 is very much focused on those skills and behaviors as it relates to being a good student, but we believe that all of those skills and behaviors will actually follow you beyond college as well. We have workshops that we offer throughout the year, and these are on a variety of topics. So whatever is of benefit to you, whatever is of interest to you at the time, you might be thinking about grad school, about studying abroad. You might be wanting to focus more on getting an internship, right? So whatever it may be, there's always offerings that we have available throughout the year. It just depends on your availability as well and your interest. The best way to keep an eye out for the offerings that we have for WISE is through our Facebook, because that's where we actually post the events as they come up. So following us on Facebook is actually a good idea because it's a good way to actually keep receiving a lot of this information throughout the year. And we're going to talk a little more about some of these tomorrow as well. So if you're able to join us tomorrow, we'll go a little bit more in depth on ENCH 10, on WISE, on GEAR. GEAR is pretty much focused on research involvement. That is something that we highly encourage among all our students to try. It may be that some of you are really wanting to get into research and looking for opportunities to do so. So GEAR is one of those ways that you can get involved, especially if you haven't done research before. Or if you may be coming in thinking, I never want to do research, that's not really what I want to do. Give it a try anyway, right? Because we are an R1 institution. Research is a big deal at UCSD. We have a ton of faculty within engineering and outside of engineering who do cutting edge research that are well known across the country and across the world as well. So being able to actually work alongside them, learn from them is going to be an experience of a lifetime. So something that you should definitely look into while you're here. And GEAR is an offering that we have. It is a year-long commitment for second-year students. So definitely keep an eye out for that information once we send it out around end of winter, early spring. And we have engineering learning communities. We talked about this yesterday, academic resources that are available to you to actually help you do well. Study groups, you hear that a lot. You have to find study groups, you have to form study groups, you have to study with others, right? But a lot of the time, it's the question we get from a lot of new students is how do you do that, right? How do you find people to study with? Learning communities is actually a formalized study group where you are put into a study group if you sign up for any of the courses that we offer. These are your foundational math, chemistry, and physics courses. So through ELCs, you get to form your own study groups as well moving forward, right? Or you can just keep on joining ELCs as well for the courses that you take. They're offered every quarter as well. It's open now for fall. So if you're taking any of the courses on the bottom right there for fall, this is something I would highly encourage for you to get into, because it will teach you a lot of ways to study with others. And those are skills that you can then bring to your own study groups if that's something that you want to pursue on your own moving forward. So I'm going to show this again at the end, but I just wanted to let you know that there are many ways to connect with us, even though we're not on campus. We are on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. We have a website that has a lot of information about all of the things that I just talked about and many more that we do at the center. And then we do send out newsletters. We sent out the first one yesterday. This goes out automatically to all engineering students, so you should have received it. If there's one email that you read from us every week, I would say this will be it, because it's actually a synthesis of a lot of the things that are going on for that week that we send to all engineering students. So as I mentioned just now, the focus for today's panel is going to be about finding your community. It is one of the big focus that we have as a center as well, is to help you find community so that you gain that sense of belonging, so that you feel that you have a network of peers that will support you through your time in college. Finding your community is a personal thing, but there's a lot of ways that you can do it within engineering and outside of engineering, and we'll talk about that today. Letting you know that we have a ton of engineering student orgs and project teams that you can be a part of. All of the students on our panel today are part of one or two or more of these organizations, and they're going to talk about that experience. You will find a list of them on our website. So if you want somewhere to start, that will be a good place to start. I'm not going to go through the benefits that you're going to get from actually joining student orgs. Our panelists, I'm sure, will talk you into joining a student org and why it's of benefit to you. But I just want to point a couple of resources that we do have available. If you ever want to travel for your own professional development and go to a conference or a competition, know that there are funding available for you to help you with that. So even with virtual conferences in fall, we do continue to offer the Student Travel Fund. So something to actually keep in mind in the future as you get involved in organizations and professional groups. This is definitely something that you can take advantage of. We have 6 diversity engineering student organizations that we work with very closely, and we'll talk about them in a little while as well. They did have their GBM, joint GBM last night. I hope that you were able to join that. But if not, there'll be many other ways that you can connect with them as well during Welcome Week and definitely the beginning of fall quarter. And I just want to plug Engineers on the Green. So this is a really good way to, if you're overwhelmed and thinking there's so many student organizations, how do I even pick, right? So usually the Triton Engineering Student Council will hold this during Welcome Week, where there will be all of these organizations that actually serve engineering students, and they would table. And this will be a good opportunity for you to meet them, to learn about what they do, to find out if what they do is in line with your interest. So they will be offering this again, of course, it'll be virtual all of next week, but this is a really good way to just get a really, a good glimpse of the many different orgs that we have available and what they do, and to learn more about what they do, as well as to get a feel for which one do you want to kind of pursue further and maybe check out a little bit more beyond the Engineers in the Green. So they are going to be on Discord all of next week, so make sure to check them out. And with that, I will pass you on to Ruben. We'll put this up again at the end of the session. But we will now move to our student panel. And then, as I mentioned before, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A. And we hope that you actually learn more about what it's like to find your community within the School of Engineering at today's session.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ruben David Rodriguez, and I'm a program coordinator for the IDEA Engineering Student Center. I think many of you may be familiar with me from such programs such as Summer Prep and SEI. So I hope I look a little bit familiar. If we have yet to meet either in person or virtually, well, hello, it's nice to meet you. So today we're going to be talking about finding your sense of community through student organizations and various other opportunities. But I'd really like to kind of give a moment for our panelists to introduce themselves. So first, let's just go ahead and kind of give each panelist a minute to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about themselves. And why don't we start off with Destiny?
Hi everyone, I'm Destiny Alvarado, a 4th year in electrical engineering with a depth of digital signal processing. I'm in John Muir College, so the best college. I used to tell people I'm from San Diego, but I've decided now I'm just gonna tell people Lemon Grove, and it's my small effort to hopefully get Lemon Grove more on the map. It's Southeast San Diego. I've been really involved with my time at UCSD. I'm currently the Vice President External for the Society of Women Engineers. I was Secretary for the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers my sophomore year. And last year, I was the project lead for IEEE's MicroMOS. So that's me.
Hi everyone, I'm Liz. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a 3rd year aerospace major in 6th College, and I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. I added some fun facts there, like my internship this summer and next summer is avionics mechanical design for the spaceship company, which if you haven't heard of them, they're connected to Virgin Galactic. They build all the ships for that. And then I added some hobbies, but for campus involvement, I did the Idea Scholar Big program last year that was really fun. I really loved mentoring my freshman. She was just great, and I feel like I learned a lot from that experience as well. And then I'm mostly involved in SEDS UCSD, which stands for Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. So last year, I was the head of internal affairs on the executive board. And last year, I also was the Vulcan 2 structures lead, which is a liquid propellant rocket. And we finished the rocket. So now I'm working on the Lunabotics competition for NASA. And soon, hopefully, we'll be doing a solid rocketry outreach, hopefully with Ruben's collab. And you might all have an opportunity for that as well.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Singer. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a third-year chemical engineering major, and I have a business minor. I am in 6th college, and I'm from Anaheim, California. Currently, I'm the vice president internal for American Institute of Chemical Engineers, and I'm on a project team for IG as well, and that's for the portable wind power team, where we build a small portable wind turbine. And I'm a member of Phi Sigma Rho, which is the STEM sorority here on campus. And I consider myself a casual member of Society of Women Engineers. And yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Trent Wiley. I'm a 4th-year structural engineering major, he, him, his pronouns. Also from John Muir College, which I must agree is the best college. From Carson, California, and just included a little tidbit that I have to skate everywhere around campus. It's my thing. Basically, for campus involvement, I'm in the Construction Management Associates of America. Been involved with it since my 1st year. 2nd year became the architecture PM. 3rd year became the vice president internal, and now currently I'm the VP external / president. I was also in the Society of Civil and Structural Engineers, where I competed in the steel bridge competition for 2 years. And I'm currently in the National Society of Black Engineers as a project team lead. Last year, I was also a house advisor, or RA, for John Muir College. And I also did the Associated Schools of Construction, Heavy Civil and Design Build competitions.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia. I'm a 4th-year mechanical engineering major with a specialization in renewable energy and environmental flows. I'm also in Muir, and I agree, best college, and I'm from Orange County. On campus, I'm involved in a couple different orgs, the first one being Engineers Without Borders. I'm the co-lead of the water container cleaning system, which is a part of the Kenya International Project. And we're pretty much trying to supply a local community in Kenya with a clean source of water, which is pretty cool. I'm also an Engineers for a Sustainable World. My 1st year, I did research and development for a desalination system. I was also involved with Community Garden, which is like a hydroponic system. And last year, I was on cabinet as Vice President of Information Management. I've also been involved with Scripps Institute of Oceanography. My 2nd year, I was a volunteer for the 100 Island Project, which does a lot of work on coral reefs. And then last year, fortunately, I got a job at CORDSI, which stands for Coastal Observing Research and Development Center, where we worked on autonomous underwater vehicles. And now I'm a member of RoboSub, which also works on autonomous underwater vehicles, and we have a yearly competition, which is pretty cool too.
All right, thank you all so much. So I think if you couldn't tell, we have about a lot of the organizations in the Jacobs School of Engineering kind of covered, we have a variety of majors, but truth be told, not every single student organization is represented here. There's still so many more different opportunities, projects, clubs, orgs to be able to get involved in. So today's panel and today's session is really to try to kind of give some context, some ideas, and a greater understanding of what it means to get involved with student organizations and finding your sense of community. We probably won't be able to answer all of your questions during today's session. However, we do ask, again, use the Q&A, throw your questions out there. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. We'll try to be as detailed as possible. But again, these are specific individual experiences. It may not apply to everyone. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. And to start off, I'm really curious about how and when you all got involved and started exploring student organizations. So how and when did you start exploring? Why don't we start off, Julia, you were the last one to speak. Julia, why don't you just go ahead and take that question to start us off?
Okay, cool. As I mentioned earlier, I'm involved in a couple different organizations, and the way that I got involved was completely different for all of them. So the first one being ESW, Engineers for a Sustainable World, was like the typical generic way that you can get involved with an organization. I went to tabling at Engineers on the Green, which Jenny was talking about earlier, and then they told me about their GBM. I attended a GBM, I applied for project teams, met people, etc. Same goes for EWB, Engineers Without Borders. I was actually attending a workshop in the Envision Makerspace. I don't know if you've all been there, but they pretty much have a bunch of different tools. They do workshops, etc. And I met the president of EWB there, and I was asking her about it. I started looking at like their website, and then I asked how I can get involved, and she pretty much sent me the application for the project team, and I really liked it because they had international projects, and then I got accepted, and now I'm on that. For SIO, Scripps Institute of Oceanography, that's been like a main goal of mine this entire college career to get involved in. So my freshman year, I would reach out to different professors or researchers and email them saying like, hi, I'm super interested in your research. Is there anything I can do? Like, I'm just trying to get involved, develop my skills. And some would either like leave me on red and not reply, or they would say like, hi, you can do this, this, and this. And then for the job that I had, I actually got a friend referral. So I would say a big tip is networking and meeting other people and learning about that, which is also how I got involved in RoboSub, which is through like word of mouth. So it's just like different ways that you can get involved on campus.
For me, I would basically say it was just basically being around and actually participating in a lot of these orientation events that they have going on. I went to the structural engineering orientation, and that's where I found out a lot about a lot of the civil engineering orgs that they had going on, and it's first they bombard you a lot with, we have this org, we have that org, and it might seem like a lot, but there's no hurt in trying. If you don't like it, then you don't have to stay in it, but it's always about just putting yourself out there, and you never know. Like Julia said, it's a lot about networking. Usually you meet somebody and they end up bringing you into another org, and so on and so forth. So it's a chain reaction, and it leads to a lot of new opportunities.
Awesome, thank you, Trent. Michelle?
Yes, so for me, I heard a lot about student orgs through workshops at SEI. And I also went to Engineers on the Green during my first year, and I definitely knew that I wanted to see what ICHE was like, the American Institute of Chemical Engineers. So I decided to go to their first GBM, and from there, then I started getting more involved. And then at the end of my second year, I decided to join one of their project teams, and they have like an application process for that. And yeah, that's how I basically got involved.
I met SEDS on Engineers on the Green. They had this big rocket engine test stand. It was huge, and it was a magnet for just like fun. I think they had music playing too, which is kind of rare for us, I guess, but it just seemed like a good, fun time. So I talked to some of their members there, and they said, hey, you should come to our mixers this week and meet some more of our members. And so I did that. And after that, I wanted to be a part of it. So I applied and ended up getting in, and the rest is a bunch of magic.
I did Summer Engineering Institute, which was essentially engineering summer camp is what it felt like. And the camp counselors for that were mainly, they were really involved with SHIP, at least a bunch of them. And just like seeing their energy, like I thought they were cool people. So like, I guess SHIP is a way to meet cool people. So that's how I got involved with the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. And that was my first year. And I would still say, like Michelle mentioned, like just a casual member of SWE. That was really how I identified my freshman and sophomore year. I would kind of go to some of their events, but I was still really interested in the org because I had a really positive connection with the president. I had met her outside of UCSD at another science event in the community. And it was just so cool to hear someone who was also electrical engineering and also in your college and from San Diego. So it was just like that personal connection pushed me to go try to be a little harder. And then last year, I had already had 2 internships, but I felt like I didn't have a very technical skills that I wanted on my resume yet. So I had an acquaintance who had done the IEEE quarterly projects. And I was like, wow, you know what? I want to do something like that. So that's what led me to apply for the IEEE Micro Mouse project.
Awesome. Thank you, Destiny. And thank you, all of you, for kind of sharing your perspective on how and when you started getting involved. We got a couple of questions going in the Q&A, so we're going to try to answer some of these as broadly as we can and as specifically as we can. So we had some questions about requirements, joining, kind of different majors. Let's just start off with this question. What are the requirements of being a part of an organization? Anyone want to take that question?
I'll have a stab at that question, Ruben. So it definitely depends on your organization, or on each organization, the requirements. Like I said, and what Destiny mentioned earlier, I am a casual member of SWE, so there's not really that many requirements. I kind of just show up when I want to go to a GBM. I think, and also not a lot of orgs have an application process. I think that's mostly if you want to join a project team. And yeah, I think that's basically it. But also, of course, if you have a leadership position, then that'll require a lot more time commitment.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to Michelle's point, but yeah, a lot of it, they don't really require an application, or at least from what I've seen. A lot of what I've witnessed with my organizations is it's about like dedication, just actually showing up. You're going to be introduced to a lot of new topics, so they're not really expecting too much from their new members. They're actually hoping to teach you along the way so that you can pick that up and hopefully gain a leadership position later on into the org. So being able to, you know, take on those new assignments, if the org does have new assignments, a lot of it is just sticking through with it. It really shows what kind of student you are. And that's usually how I got involved. It's just sticking it out.
Nice, thanks, Trent. And then anyone else want to go ahead and answer the question?
I can answer. Ruben, do you want me to go through the application process and the requirements, or just like the requirements once you are a member?
Yeah, just kind of do a little bit of both as briefly as if you can, just kind of summarize.
For sure. Okay, so the application process is pretty rigorous for SEDS. You can find all the information on our website if you just Google SEDS UCSD. So yeah, there are usually mixers when everything's in person, but obviously this year, not really. But those usually allow us to put a face to the name. We might have them just fall quarter, we might have them every quarter, and you can try to join basically all throughout college, which is really awesome. Then you can apply online, which is on the website. The applications for fall quarter open on October 1st, I believe. And that requires a resume, and you can just choose, what kind of project team interests you. At that point, you might be contacted for an interview. And if you complete the interview, they'll decide whether or not to place you on a project team. After that, your first quarter in SEDS is called a cadetship period to see if you can handle the workload. And then also it's kind of a two-way street. So it's to see if you like being on the team. Once you are a member, there's a commitment to work on your project team Saturday and Sunday. It's usually about 20 hours, usually 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturdays and 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Sundays, but it varies by team. So it could start an hour earlier than that, whatever it is. You're expected to attend all of the GBMs unless you have a work or class, and GBMs, which stand for general body meetings, by the way. GBMs are every other week, but obviously if you have work or class, that's you're exempt from that, we understand. And then you also get 1 free absence for GBMs every quarter otherwise. And you can also miss 4 work days a quarter. Obviously emergencies are don't count for that. Holidays, all of that. Yeah, it's a lot of information, but there you go.
No worries, we appreciate it. Thank you, Liz. And we got a couple other questions here. So we definitely have some interest in a Phi Sigma Rho, Michelle. There people are, you got the Q&A popping, Michelle, so appreciate that. I'll let Michelle answer and type out those questions with respect to Phi Sigma Rho, unless we have a chance to circle back to it. Maybe she can answer it live, but we'll just leave those there. But we got a couple other questions here. So can we join other engineering organizations if we are CSC? Can we join something similar to aerospace? And so I guess this is really a question about majors. So do you have to stick with student organizations that are suited to your major, or can you expand to other student organizations that are outside of your major? And Liz, I know with SEDS, I think SEDS pulls in a lot of different majors. So why don't you just go ahead and can you go ahead and take that one, please?
Of course. So SEDS actually is not restricted to any major. You don't even have to be in engineering to join, which is really awesome. We have filmmakers, we have business people, and they kind of are on the business team, but also we still have people who are a physics major doing engineering jobs in their teams, which is really fun. We've had some awesome biomedical engineers, I think, who have been the most successful on our static fire test stand, which is really awesome because it's so out of their field, but it still helps them to get a job, which is cool. But yeah, we pretty much welcome anybody who is interested in space or just willing to have a good time. If you click with a lot of our members, then which they're really easy to get along with, by the way. So it's basically anybody. And if the passion's there, they'll take you on usually.
Awesome, thank you so much, Liz. And then I think, Julie, you've also kind of had some experience as well. Would you be able to give an answer?
Yeah, so going off what Liz said, no, well, yes, you can join whatever you want. There is no really specification. They're not going to kick you out because of your major. I've also learned from personal experiences, project teams, if there's a hardware side, that always follows with software. But if you have specific things, you can just go up to the project lead, the president, and ask this is my major. Do you think there's something for me to do? What project team do you think I'll fit in? Or you can even go onto their website. Most project teams and organizations have their own dedicated website, and you can look more on their projects, see what the projects are about. And if you're interested, then either email the organization or project lead and pretty much ask the same thing, how can I get involved? Do you think I'll be useful? What skills do I need, etc.
Awesome, thank you, Julia. We have another question.
I'd also like to add to that real quick, sorry. Just talking about IT projects, we definitely, at least my project team specifically, we have other engineering majors on our team. So it's not just chemical engineers. We have mechanical engineers and an electrical engineer, I believe. And with my project team specifically, we're building a wind turbine, which I feel like you wouldn't typically think that's for chemical engineering. So it is valuable to have other engineers. So yeah, definitely if you seem interested in a certain project team, even though it maybe is labeled under a certain type of engineering, I would still look into it.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you for that, Michelle. And I want to take a step back for a moment and just kind of help differentiate between like student organizations and project teams. I want to make sure that that we all kind of have like a common understanding of what it means. And so kind of there's a couple of questions that are tied together, but really what's the difference between a project team and an organization, or maybe even what's their relationship? Like what's the structure? Like we're using these phrases like join a student org or join a project team. If maybe Destiny, if you want to go ahead and give an answer to that, yeah.
So one thing that is pretty common with diversity orgs such as SWE and NSBE is we are an organization, but within our organization we have project teams where there are some orgs where their organization is centered around their project. Like they get together because they are all determined that when that competition happens in May, that they're ready for it. So and like we're SWE, it's like, you know, we have our general body meetings, we have socials, we have networking events, but in addition, a sub part of that is our project teams. And the main difference being is that you don't really apply for just to be a part of the organization, but project teams, because there's a time commitment, and also there's only so much project to go around. So if you have 20 people interested in a 5-person project, it just doesn't work. So that's sort of the difference for us.
Awesome, thank you. And Trent, you have a pretty good experience with project teams. I feel like you've been in every project team that exists in the Jacobs School of Engineering. Can you kind of also help clarify, at least from your perspective, kind of what the difference is in the relationship?
Yeah, so if anything, I would say like organizations are like the overarching group that kind of has project teams contained inside. So a lot of the project teams will actually focus on actually making something, whether that be like actually doing something, fabricating it, or making some sort of software. And from what I've seen, it's usually if you're trying to show off something, or if you're actually doing this for a competition. Most of the organizations that I've been in, they've been professional organizations. So a lot of what they try to do is basically teach you more about the real world outside of just academics. They try to give you resume workshops. They try to introduce different industries so that you get a feel for what you're actually studying for. And it also gives you mainly opportunities for internships. So I'd say that was like the big part or the big difference that I've seen with organizations and project teams. And I would say, honestly, it's probably the best time to join a project team when you're first year, just because your schedule isn't as defined yet. You have time to organize, move around, and prioritize what you really want to do. And it's a good way of figuring out if it's a good fit for you. So I would definitely promote joining a project team your first year.
Thank you for that response, Trent. And along those same lines, so Trent's kind of given an answer as to when you should start exploring. Would you say it's hard to join as a first year, Trent?
From my experience, like what Liz has said with SEDS, it really does depend on the org. Some will have more requirements than others, and therefore it requires more experience. So they might be looking for someone that is probably a second year, third year that's taken a specific class that understands a specific program. But other project teams will mostly be looking for, if you're just interested in applying something new. I know for the NSBE project team, for instance, this is new itself. And it's a structural engineering project team that no one has really done a structural project like this before, other than making like a concrete canoe or a steel bridge. Instead, we want to try to use those principles of structural engineering to make something different that we haven't seen before. So I would always say it doesn't hurt to at least try and ask. You know, they'll let you know if, you know, if it's a good fit, if you need more experience. But I would say a lot of what I've learned has been from actually being there. So just joining, just hearing what they have to say. Most of the time you'll learn the software while you're in the actual org. So yeah, I would just put myself out there.
Oh, thanks for that, Trent. That's a really, I appreciate your answer, because I feel in some ways you're really kind of nudging students to just take a chance, just take the risk to go and meet student orgs and basically see, you know, what it takes. I see all the panelists nodding their heads up and down and smiling, like, you gotta take a chance on yourself. So, and to clarify for some students who are coming in, maybe they're transferring in, maybe they're coming straight from high school, but let's talk a little bit about the difference between student clubs in high school and what student organizations are here at UCSD or at college. Like, what's the difference? How would you describe the difference between high school clubs and student orgs here? And let's go ahead, Destiny, do you want to take a shot at that one?
Yeah, so I was in National Honor Society. I did president for that 1 year in high school. My senior year I was ASB president, so I was definitely like involved in extracurriculars in high school. And then you throw in like track and cross country and AP classes, and it's crazy. You do all this stuff, but you get through it. You do it well enough, we all get into UCSD. But I would say the difference between it in the university level is like our organizations really don't meet as frequently as we did in high school, because I felt like in high school there was always like a weekly meeting, like for an hour during lunch, or they would have events, but I'd always be on the weekends because that's when high school students are usually most free and can get rides. And with our organizations, it's really, we'll have our general body meetings, but there's only 3 a quarter for Society of Women Engineers. So I was all getting together in that, it's not as frequent. And also all of our big events are going to happen during the weekdays because college students usually don't want to do professional events on the weekends. And also I think the time commitment's just different, because with our org, you can decide to go full end, you can go to the general body meetings, you can join a committee, and then also join a project team. So there's so many levels that you can get involved with. And I feel like at least my experience in high school was kind of like either you're a member or you're not a member. And that was the association.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else?
I feel like sets might be a little different than that, because it kind of fits in everything Destiny said it's not, but that's okay. SEDS, I would say, is really one of those, like, you have to be committed to it to be in it, which is I think a good thing, because it really is helpful from like a lot of different perspectives. In my opinion, maybe the only thing that comes close to being similar is like a first robotics team. So if you were in that, like, SEDS would be a very easy transition. But other than that, I feel like a lot of the clubs that people join in high school are really just, you know, like resume padding. Like, you're just like, I'm just trying to grab as much as I can from anywhere. Whereas, I don't know, being in my club, at least, it kind of becomes part of you, if that makes sense. So it's both social and technical. They have a bunch of events. Like the board throws quarterly parties and like team building events. And then we have like hot fire, where you hot fire an engine. You basically make fire go out of an engine. And you get to camp in the desert and stuff like that. So it is really committed, and it's kind of just, you meet all of your friends from there. Honestly, similar to like a sorority or frat, now that I think about it, I guess would be close. But yeah, and then you also network, and there's like a conference. Yeah, I met like most of my closest friends there, and I also feel pretty well introduced to the industry. It really is like a part-time job. That's probably the best way to say it. Sorry for my long-winded answer. Anyway.
No, it's all good. I think you've kind of touched upon, there's various degrees of commitment required for each organization. And it sounds like, Liz, for you and SEDS, it can be like a part-time job. And then, you know, as Michelle mentioned earlier, she's a casual member of SWE, you know, you come and go. You come and go however the wind blows, Michelle. We'd love to see you at more SWE BMs, but that's okay. We know you're busy in Aichi and Phi Sigma Rho, and so you got your hands are full, but it depends on the organization, really. You know, those time commitments will vary. So for, I think there was a question earlier for a student or for someone that said, are there better student orgs to join if you have not joined one before? That's going to be such an individualized response because it depends on what you're looking for, depends on how much free time you have. It depends on how much commitment you want to have. I mean, forget free time. You may have all the free time in the world, but you really only want to give an hour for a student org, or you may want to give, you know, 20 hours or invest 20 hours. So it depends on you. And across the Jacobs School of Engineering, there's so many different student organizations to kind of explore that really you should be able to find some type of opportunity that really suits you. So, you know, we have a couple other questions here. How about this question? With respect to your organization, describe one event, activity, or program that you're most proud of. And speaking of Michelle, why don't you take this question?
Yeah, so for Aichi, our biggest event for the year is called Niche, and I can spell it out for anyone in the chat if you'd like, but it's a combination between NETS and Aichi. NETS is the nano engineering org, and Aichi's chemical engineering org, and so we're under the same department. And so basically we get together winter quarter and we organize a career fair just for chemical engineering companies and nano engineering companies. And I think that that's really cool just because I feel like chemical engineers don't get as represented sometimes, sadly, especially at career fairs. And so, yeah, I think this year it's definitely maybe going to be held virtually. We'll see how winter quarter goes, but yeah, we work really hard on that event, and there's food and everything and prizes. There's even a competition that you can present an idea for a project, and we get a panel of judges such as professors or people who work in labs, and they'll judge each team, and then you can win prize money, which is cool. So it's a whole event. So yeah, definitely look out for that. And still, again, like, you don't have to be a chemical engineering major or a nano engineering major to join. If you have any interest or just want to come see the companies, then you're free to.
Awesome, thank you, Michelle. Julia, yeah.
Okay, so I have two different ones because I think the work that I do is cool, not to flex or anything. But I'm a part of EWB, as I said earlier, which is the Kenya International Project. And I think I joined that like 1 or 2 years ago. And one really cool event was the two co-founding presidents were actually able to go to Kenya and like on a trip and actually implement stuff, which is really cool. And they all came back with like pictures and stuff, which is really rewarding to see like the actual community members like impacted by the work that we do. Another event that was really nice for me was actually, it's super small, but I've been wanting to be involved in like Scripps Institute of Oceanography since freshman year. And this past year when I got the job, I was granted access to the pier, and like not everyone gets access to the Scripps pier. You have to be like a researcher or employer. And they let me walk onto the pier, like handle the crane, walk down the ladder, and it was just really rewarding to see like how far I've come throughout my career at UCSD.
You know, along those lines, Julia, I'm wondering if you can kind of expand on what you were just talking about and answer, what does it mean to be a member of an organization? So right now you were kind of already talking about growth. So yeah, what does it mean for you to be a member of your organization? And maybe it means different things for different orgs. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think that, or you can answer that in different types of ways, just depending on what you get out of the organization and what organization you join. For me, I think for me, being a member means like being a part of a community, meeting new people, having people to sit next to in class, but also developing your skills as an engineer. I feel like I've learned so much joining different project teams, meeting new people. There's also different workshops that organizations throw. So it's like learning how to CAD, learning how to program if that's your thing, etc. But for me, it's really just meeting new people, having a community of people that I can rely on, and also like for a social aspect and also professional.
Awesome. Thanks, Julia. And anyone else want to kind of give their perspective on what it means to be a member of an organization?
Yeah, I can kind of just add on to that. I think, the title of this program really covers it. It's, it sounds cheesy sometimes when we say community. It's meeting people who are in similar situations as you. And I think like the main thing, it's not just about, oh, we're both women in engineering struggling. It's we're both, or not so much the struggle, but the struggle together. It's like, yeah, we're going to do these great things. We know the light at the end of the tunnel. There's going to be this high paying engineering job, but it's when your midterm doesn't go as well as you thought it was going to. It's when you're super excited and you made that second round of the interview, but you still didn't get the job. It's who can you talk to about that? Who understands that? Because at least where I come, like my family, they're not engineers, so they don't necessarily understand that and can see the whole process. They just kind of see like the gold star at the end. And also, Liz mentioned, how being a part of her org is like, it's a part of her. And that's really how I feel about SWE and being on board. And I think that's kind of that gets more of the distinction like a member and a board member. So when you're a board member, you're taking on this part-time job, but it's not a job because you're not getting paid for it. It's just because you care so much about the members, and it's okay if you put in all the time for it.
Can I add on to that one about what it's like to be a part of it? I feel like it really is just, it's really vital for a social life, especially at UCSD, but like the people really do care about you, like Destiny was saying. I remember my freshman year, I didn't know anybody who had a car, and I just put it in the chat, and some random person who ended up being my friend later on, but he was like, oh, I will pick you up from your wisdom tooth extraction, and I will take care of you during that day, which he like was just out of the kindness of his heart. It was so nice. And then, like last year, all my roommates were in the org, and people will say like, hey, my car broke down in the normal chat, and someone will actually go and help them out if they're in the area. And it's just like, it's nice when you're not from this area and you don't have parents nearby, or maybe you have no idea how to call AAA or whatever it is. Stuff like that where you're really on your own, but you're not, because you have this community, which is really special.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those responses. So I'm checking the time. It's 1:54. We have time for about 2 more questions. We have some really good questions in the Q&A, and I apologize. We won't be able to get to all of them. I'm going to try to summarize some of them, but how are orgs working with COVID? For now, everything is remote, at least through fall quarter, and we're basically on a quarter-by-quarter basis pending UCSD and state and federal policy. We'll see if we'll be able to meet in person again during winter quarter, but for fall quarter, everything is remote. We have another question in here about what's the best way to get to know people in orgs when everything is online. Michelle, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so I feel like it's definitely going to be harder to meet people in a virtual setting, but it's definitely not impossible. I suggest, I know a lot of orgs have social events, virtual social events going on. So for IT, we have game nights or movie nights, and I think maybe going to a few socials can help you meet people. And definitely check out an org's Facebook page. Like all of the orgs I'm sure here have a Facebook page, so just look them up, and typically they post when events are coming up, and you should definitely join that. But just don't be afraid to reach out to people, or maybe you can randomly type in the chat, what classes are you guys taking? And you can meet friends and work on homework together. And yeah, that's my advice.
Nice. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just add on to Michelle's point, but yeah, it's a lot of just being able to go to these events, especially socials, even though COVID is posing an obstacle for all of us that we can't meet in person. This definitely doesn't slow down the amount of times that we're meeting up and what kind of events that we're still putting on. I know a lot of orgs I'm still in, they still have the same like 3 activities or the same socials going on. It's just with now an online way of doing it. So yeah, just mess with the chat. And to my understanding, just from like my RA side, I believe a lot of the resident housings is still putting on activities. So, I mean, go to those too. I mean, I know I didn't my first year, but I do regret it because I did meet a lot of my friends and they were through these different activities and I would have met them sooner, but I didn't go to them. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Trent. And anyone else want to give an answer?
Sure. So yeah, like I said, SUDS is social and technical. So definitely go to like all of those parties that they throw. It's really fun. They usually have a Halloween party. I hope it still happens, even if it's virtual. And if you have the chance to go to a hot fire in the desert, camping is so much fun with everyone. And then, yeah, I would just say like go to, I mean, if you're on a project team and you have to go to the GBMs, that's when everyone comes together. You'll still meet people from other teams. A lot of my friends first year were still from different teams, which is cool. So yeah, I would say do that, and definitely do that, because that's how you will make friends who are in, who end up graduating before you and work at places like SpaceX and Apple and Tesla and NASA and all those pretty cool places, and they'll get you a job because they know you and they care about you and they know you're hardworking. So do that for sure, because it like your investment will double like a million times over just by being friends with these really nice people.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Liz. And so just as a reminder, some folks had questions about how did they get involved, where they find more information. Again, Engineers on the Green is a really good opportunity to be able to speak with people face to face, or I should say screen to screen, but you know, be able to meet with folks in a virtual setting. And then I also threw up the Idea Center's website that specifically the landing page should be our student organizations. So all of our student organizations should be updating their websites. I hope that all of the links work. For their student orgs. Sometimes student orgs get new domain names, so sometimes we might have a broken link. If that's the case, just send us an email and that way we can reach out to the student org. But if you check out our student org page, that should have links for all of the student orgs that are housed within the Idea Center in the Jacobs School of Engineering. So we got about a minute left. With a minute, I'm hoping we can get some final parting words from all of our panelists. So what advice would you give to incoming students? And I'm going to leave this intentionally vague. You can talk about it in broad terms, or you can talk about it with respect to student org. So what advice would you give to incoming students? And Julia, why don't you start us off?
I think my biggest tip is put yourself out there, meet people, like even in lecture halls, or I guess it's different now, but once COVID ends and you can meet people in person, like just strike up conversations. Everyone's in the same role as you, like no one wants to be alone, make friends. Because networking is so easy, like Liz, or networking is so important, like Liz mentioned earlier, not even for professional development later on, but during the school year, it's just like a good thing to have a support system and a nice group of friends. And also have fun, like that's so cliche, but I'm becoming a senior this year, and looking back at my experience, I'm like, damn, I wish I had a little more fun, like didn't spend every second in Geisel, hung out with people more, like didn't cancel on plans. So just remember to have a balanced like life schedule.
Yeah, and I guess I would just kind of give my little advice would be do not get a MacBook. I didn't know this going into college, but a vast majority of the programs that you use are not like applicable for MacBook. So getting a Windows, you could actually use it, and you don't have to go into the library every second to work on your homework.
Yeah, for me, same kind of going off of Julia. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and step outside of your comfort zone. Just in regards to student orgs, maybe make a list of everything that looks interesting. Go to Engineers on the Green, go to a few GBMs, and you'll find something that sticks. And yeah, who knows, you might end up having a position someday. So just go for it. What have you got to lose? And even if you don't think you have experience for a project team, curiosity is always appreciated. And yeah.
Definitely agree with what everyone else said. I guess my tidbit would be, it's okay to like fall flat on your face. If you have a really great fall quarter, but then winter quarter like kicks you in the teeth, like that's okay. Everybody's learning, but not to be alone in your struggles. You know, whether you find community in SEDS, in any team, like as long as you find someone that you can talk to, that's what really counts.
I would say that every new student and every student ever in college should have a therapist. It's normal, and going to college is like a very big adjustment, even if you're just commuting. It really helps to have a professional advice giver, not just relying on Ruben. Yeah, they'll teach you positive life and study habits, and that way you don't have to see like, oh, is my roommate's advice good, or should I not trust it? It's great because you're paying this person and they tell you the truth.
Thank you for that, Liz. That's not to say you can't come to me for support, but I do agree with Liz. Having a specifically trained mental health professional to kind of support you through all the different experiences, all the different challenges, all of the different triumphs throughout college is just a really good, that's a good support system. It's a good network to have. The Idea Center and staff members here at the Idea Center are here for you. If you participated in transfer prep or summer prep, you got to meet some student employees that can also support you. And hopefully you're gonna have your friends that are there. But like Liz said, sometimes you're not always sure if your friend is the best person to turn to for advice. So having someone else there for you is really good. But we're at 2:03, so we're a little bit over time. Just some final logistics. This webinar was recorded. We will post it. If you want to check the Q&A, I believe Jessica answered. You should be able to find it on our YouTube page. I think we're going to post it by Thursday. And I think Thursday is what we're going to email it out to folks who all signed up. And as Jenny mentioned, we should be raffling out some prizes for attendees. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for not just their time. I know this session was only an hour, but if you totaled up all the number of volunteer hours they gave to JSOE and to their various student organizations over time, they have given some combined like almost 20 years worth of time to the Jacobs School of Engineering. So I want to give them just a big thank you. And it's just been a pleasure working with everyone, watching them grow over my time here. I know that this fall isn't exactly what we all imagined it would be, but we'll bounce back, and it's going to be good. I think we're all learning some things about how to collaborate in a remote and virtual environment. So with that being said, thank you all for spending some time with us. We'll have our webinar tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. I believe we're using the same link, and that should be on academic resources. And I believe we're going to be focusing a little bit on research and possibly study abroad as well. So for those of you interested, check us out tomorrow, 1 p.m. All right, thank you all very much, and have a great rest of your day.